Attention to brief. Welcome to a special edition of the Briefing Room. I'm your co host, Matt Bowman. I've spent over 20 years in defense of this nation, wearing the cloth of the nation, briefing admirals, generals, senior executives, and senior warfighters. This show is a show by warriors for warriors. Our purpose is clear. Myself and my co host, Dr. Tyrone Taborn, have spent our entire lives working with military leaders, Navy, Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, Air Force, Space Force, National Guard, and community leaders with one single purpose in mind, and that is to raise the capacity of Americans and American children to thrive in science, technology, engineering, and math. But how do you raise that bar? You have to bring a warrior mindset to everything that you do, and that is what this show is about. So we start this show off with going around the world. I usually go to 7 continents talking about the top events. But today's show is a very special edition because we are a nation at war. Last Saturday, the United States and its ally Israel, our ally Israel, attacked Iran. During that attack, the senior leadership of Iran, including the Ayatollah Khomeini, were all taken out in airstrikes against complexes in Tehran, Isfahan, and around the entire country of Iran. Iran is not Iraq. Iran is a country of 90 million plus people. It is a great big landmass, and this is a limited, as described, a limited military action with at least 4 stated purposes. One is to destroy Iran's nuclear capabilities. The other is to promote or encourage regime change. The other is to prevent imminent attack. And then the fourth, of course, is to stop the Iranian regime for funding terrorism or supporting terrorism, as stated since the 1979 Iranian takeover and expulsion of the former Shah of Iran. So those are all the reasons that are given. And as you know, in this show, I do one thing. I state the facts and only the facts. And then I come with a military analysis of what does that mean for us as warfighters and what does that mean for us as people who are continuing to raise the bar in how we live. So rather than go around the continents and talk about kind of what's going on in North America, South America, on this show, we're going to stay focused on one single topic, and that is Iran. So for those of you who don't know, Iran is one of the oldest cultures known to man. Originally Persia, it has now gone to become the Islamic Republic of Iran. Rich history, very prideful people, Islamic nation that is largely, although not entirely, Shia Muslim, which is completely different from the Sunni Muslims that you see in Saudi Arabia and other parts of the world. That split happened thousands of years ago when the descendants of the Prophet Muhammad split with his aides. Some people, the Shia Muslims, following the family, and then the Sunni Muslims following the aides and assistants of the Prophet Muhammad. So that's kind of a quick history lesson on how they split. That split has gone on for generations and has resulted in a Shia population, largely in Iran, and a Sunni Muslim population in other parts of the world. In 1979, the American embassy was taken over. Hostages were held for months, and the hostages were released. And in exchange, as part of that process, an Islamic regime was set up. The old Shah of Iran was thrown out and exposed, and they have lived under that Islamic regime ever since 1979. Fast forward to last Saturday. Last Saturday was the first time in 40 years that there was an opportunity for any elements within the Iranian society for regime change. On that day, on last Saturday, the Ayatollah Khomeini, the number 2, the number 3, the entire top line of the Iranian leadership was taken out by airstrikes. There are no known U.S. military boots on the ground, but when you look at from air and sea and subsurface, American submarines just sank a football field length Iranian frigate off the southern coast of Sri Lanka. So on the subsurface, we have American submarines taking out Iranian ships. In the air, we have virtual air dominance. Initially, we went in with the stealth fighters and the stealth bombers, the B-2s, the B-1s, and now we are rolling in with the heavies, non-stealth aircraft like the B-52s. So air superiority, if we don't have it already, is any day now. Surface superiority, at least on the waters, we have that. Iran has over 140 ships. 20 of the biggest ones have been sunken already, including their largest submarine. That does leave them with a fleet of fast attack boats, and those are a real threat, a very real threat to the Strait of Hormuz. Now, what is the Strait of Hormuz? The Strait of Hormuz is a little tiny passage that lets people enter and exit the Persian Gulf. More importantly, for us is that Iran is land adjacent to the Strait of Hormuz. So either through attack speedboats or through laying mines, there is a possibility of them clogging the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil goes through that Strait of Hormuz. So there's now over 3,000 ships waiting to go through the Strait of Hormuz, terrified that if they go through, they're going to be attacked. Has huge potentials for the United States for oil prices, inflation, spiking inflation, and disrupting the world economy. To minimize that threat, President Trump did announce that the U.S. would guarantee insurance for any cargo vessels that want to transit the strait. Insurance risk was the biggest risk causing most of the maritime owners not to go through the Strait of Hormuz. The United States government is currently seeking to minimize that risk and also raising the possibility of having Navy escorts. And so that might look like minesweepers accompanying maritime ships. It might look like U.S. Military warships creating what they call channels so that ships can go through. Lots of possibilities there, but the bottom line is that the U.S. government, the U.S. taxpayers, and we as taxpayers are, at the end of the day, probably going to guarantee the safe passage of those ships. All right, so that talks about the air war. We've talked about the ground war. Currently, no boots on the ground. If you listen to the commentaries on Sundays, Sunday morning talk shows, and those of you who've been in war zones, you know that never in the history of the world has regime change happened through air power alone. At some point, boots go on the ground if you really want to affect change. And so this is a new strategy. So if there is such a thing as a new strategy, we're now in it. All right, so that right there brings you up to date. We're on day 5. In fullness of the story, Iran has been launching drones and attacking U.S. assets, attacking over 11 different Gulf state countries. And the biggest story, bigger than any of those other stories, is that 6 Americans, now almost, and the number is rising daily, 6 American warriors have given the ultimate sacrifice and have died in this conflict. That represents 6 families, that represents 6 communities, that represents 6 futures that will never get to see the fullness of their possibilities, cut down in the prime of their lives. And so we always on this show want to pay respect to the warriors, to those American servicemen and women who are giving the ultimate sacrifice so we can live here in the United States. So I do want to take a moment to take my hat off and to recognize them. Yeah. And then conversely, on the other side, thousands of Iranians have also given their lives. And so as we do a show by warriors for warriors, we recognize the fact that there are real costs in lives in terms of having armed conflict. And it's never easy and never an easy decision to go into. And as citizens, we always have to ask the tough questions. Is it worth it? So we're going to rewind and go to the guest that I'm bringing on today. As I said, this show is a show by warriors for warriors. So we're going to go to a commercial where we're going to talk about Beya and the Beya ecosystem and how we are using Beya create not just scientific warriors, but also warriors who do war fighting. And then I'm going to bring on my guest today, Mr. Greg Richards, who is probably one of the nation's leading preparers of warrior training. So if you want your children to understand how do you go through warrior training and what is the mindset to go through warrior training, stay tuned for this show. And we're going to go to commercial right now.
It's the moment in your eyes when the future becomes clear.
40 years ago, a vision was born. To break barriers, to celebrate brilliance.
The hopes of what's in reach.
From pioneers to innovators to tomorrow's dreamers, BEYA has changed the landscape of STEM forever. Great minds, great people, great futures. Join us for BEYA 40. Don't just watch history, be part of it. BEYA, becoming everything you are.
Become everything you are.
Welcome back to the briefing room. I'm your host, Matt Bowman, and my co-host, Dr. Tyrone Taborn. And we've spent over 40 years doing one thing, and that is preparing warriors to make sure that America stays the greatest country to ever exist on the face of this earth. I spent 20 years in the United States Navy flying airplanes, doing bad things to bad people, and Dr. Taborn has spent twice that time really in the fields of schools and the hallways of corporations, preparing scientists, technologists, engineering, mathematicians, and researchers to make sure that our country stays at the top. I'm here today in my family home, and this is our ancestral home in South Carolina. It's a museum and a winery, and on that wall are all of the warriors that our family members have worked with. And they go back in time from the Buffalo Soldiers all the way to modern day leaders who are serving today in active duty across all branches, across all services. Which brings me to our guest today. Our guest today has done what my family has also done for generations, and that is raise warriors. So my friend Greg is a father, he is a patriot, and he is doing something that most parents today in 2026 are just not able to do. And let me hit you with the facts. Only 7 to 10% of Gen Zers have any propensity to serve in the United States military. So when we talk about war with Iran, you're talking about the top 10%. Of that top 10% who even want to serve, only 25% of that 10% who would even serve is eligible and qualified. That means they have no behavioral issues. They have no major childhood illnesses. They have no illegal drug use. They're physically fit. They're mentally sound. So now we're talking about 2.5% of Americans 17 to 24 who can even possibly serve in our armed forces. And of that 2.5%, less than 40% of those don't make it through their first enlistment. So when you're talking about those soldiers, sailors, airmen, marine, guardsmen, airmen, sailors who are out there, they are the 1%. And so how do you raise the 1%? How do you make sure that your child or your grandchild, your niece, your nephew is part of the 1%? Well, to answer that question, I'd like to bring on the show my friend, Greg. I call him Super Dad. Come on the show, Greg.
Thank you.
Listen, it's an honor to have you on the show. And, I want to, we're talking about Iran, but I want to jump right into it, Greg. I mean, you see the wall behind me, all the wall of heroes and veterans, and but you've done it. And so there are parents out there who want their children also to serve this great nation. So, Greg, tell me about your family. I want to go back in time, your parents. where did y'all get this patriotism and love of country from?
Okay. Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here.
Listen, I appreciate it.
My father was in the Air Force for 20 years, and my mother is currently still a pastor, and she's been a pastor for 30 plus years.
Wow.
And so with that being said, there's a lot of structure in our household, from dad waking us up early in the morning to mom having us clean up. You have nothing but rules. You have rewards as well, but they were very strict, and they didn't give a lot of leeway with, oh, do what everyone else is doing, so just do the whole bandwagon approach. That wasn't the case. What one child did didn't mean you got to follow. And if you did, we had a nice belt to show you how to get back in line. Some form of punishment.
That's right. That's right. Okay. And so now you have a father who was in the Air Force, a mom who's a pastor. But you know, there's other things, physical fitness, rules and values. Tell me about some of your family's core values that you learned from your parents that you were able to instill. Because I think, and this is why, for those of you who are watching, why is it that I want Greg on this show? Greg has 5, count them 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 children who serve in defense of this nation. And so you are a super patriot parent with 5 children. So,
thank you.
So what are some of the family core values that were passed down in order for you to get 5 children able and willing to serve this great nation?
Put God first in everything that you do.
Okay.
First and foremost. Be a man or woman of your word. Once you lose it, you can never get it back. Don't complain about things going on in your life. If you don't like it, you be the change that you want in the world. So don't expect a third party to change it for you. It'll never happen. You go and make that change within yourself. Those are some of the larger ones that we were taught. I mean, everyone can complain about things going on, but the biggest thing I found as a child, there's nothing a child can't do until you tell them they can't do it. So they have no limits. And so if you raise your family, which is what my parents did with us, with no limits, thinking we can do any and everything and nothing was too big or small, you have a different mindset.
Wow. So raising children with no limits. And so now you take this lesson from your parents, and now here you are, a parent. And, like I tell people, in my household, you are super dad. So how many children? Do you have? How many children? Because we love children. I think we connect. So I think you have.
I have you beat by 1 or 2. I have 12 children, 6 boys and 6 girls.
And look, I'm just, like I say, my hat is off to you in this day when people have 2 and 1 children. 12 children is more than a notion to raise, and of those 12, having 5 serve in the military. But when I look at the Gen Z children, and I look at no physical fitness, a lot of social and anxiety issues, especially the COVID kids. Greg, tell the audience, the other parents who are watching, what did you use to make sure that your children were physically fit in order to be able to even think about going into something like the military?
For starters, my form of punishment. When I was a child, I got spanked. I didn't like it. I tried it with my older kids, with the older ones, and it didn't change much. So I changed the way I spanked them. I spanked them mentally. The saying in our household was, a hard head made a soft behind. So I figured if you're hard-headed, you're going to get in a lot of trouble. So there are places for people that get in a lot of trouble, and you don't really, you need a hard body at that point. You need to be able to defend yourself. You need to be able to stand on your own. So instead of spanking you, you had push-ups, you had handstand push-ups, you had hands and feet. I put you in horse, which is basically sitting in an invisible chair for a period of time, and you did it for the number of minutes that you were owed on any punishment. And you got to decide which one you want to do. Well, Dad, I'm going to punish myself and do push-ups today, or I'm going to do horse. And You got to literally decide your punishment, which made you accountable. And I found that to be a huge, huge asset of raising our children. And the older children took care of the younger ones, and it just made it a lot easier,
Wow,
making them responsible for themselves.
Greg, I think that that's a big takeaway. I mean, that physical fitness and even in the disciplining, bringing out the magical word that every single warrior knows, and that's accountability. You are responsible for you and the outcomes. No one else is to blame. So instilling accountability. And I guess it made them strong. I mean, you know, I look at the kids, they can do pull-ups and handstand push-ups, and it's actually incredible to witness.
Thank you.
Yes. And then how about teams? Like, I know some of yours are public school. I mean, you kind of have the whole spectrum of education: public school, private school, charter school, homeschool. So for the homeschool ones and the ones during COVID, how did you handle socialization? Because that's a big issue for warriors, being able to thrive in group settings.
Well, we did everything in our power to stay in groups within safe distance, of course. So we went to church and we did it religiously. We did not change even in COVID time. And a lot of churches did the whole 6 feet, and you had 2 and 3 pews separating. They did the best they can to help you still be able to come out and mingle. We still played sports. We still did things. We just, instead of being inside all the time, we spent more time outside. And thank God, you know, we're a healthy family, but we did everything in our power to stay healthy. You know, when we were told to wear masks, we wore masks every single day. We did not walk out of our house without a mask on. We bought stock in masks.
That's right.
It was just, and we did everything in our power to stay healthy, but we still fellowshiped with everyone. We did our sporting events. We've even played, because we play several sports, we even played a basketball game once with the whole team wearing masks.
Wow. Incredible. And this is in Florida, so you know the weather is like know, 80, 90 degrees. So just absolutely incredible in raising warrior training. So you know, you talk about physical fitness, we talk about religious and spiritual health, we talked about socialization, and then what about something that people don't talk about, especially not enough today, which is martial arts, preparing your children to defend themselves, and the importance of knowing when and how to use self-defense. How did you handle martial arts?
We turned it into more of a game. So in the sense that you have to be able to do certain things, but you don't know why. I didn't make it seem like, hey, you're defending yourself. But if you know how to do a reverse grip, or if you know how to do a sidestep, it was just part of your curriculum. It was part of your everyday curriculum for school. They didn't know. They know how to throw knives, shoot bow and arrows, but they didn't know why. They just did what mom and dad told them to do. A child does not know what they can and can't do until you tell them they can't do it. And so I knew how important it was to be able to defend yourself in life and those that you care about. My father taught us. He was a very strong protector. And I did take that from my father, and that is what I am with my family. And I taught them how to protect their family. And with that being the case, I mean, honestly, I can say, if you know how to defend yourself many times, trouble doesn't, it comes, but you know how to walk away from it because you're not scared. Trouble usually escalates because of your fear.
Yeah, that's that, Greg. I mean, again, kudos to you. For those in the audience, that is a golden nugget. I had a boxing instructor in Seattle back in the Central District, when the Central District was the real Central District. And he told me one time, he said, you know, Matt, when predators are looking for prey, if you have the eye of the tiger, they will leave you alone. And he said, I walk to the bus station every day past people who are robbers and gangbangers, and I've never once had to give my money up. Now they do ask. And he said, and then when I put my cane down and turn and look at them, they always say, go ahead, old man, keep walking. And he said, they know they're looking for prey. And so in this world where you have people who are looking for prey, it is so important that you raise your children to have a warrior mentality to make sure that they are not victims in a very uncertain and largely unsafe world. So my hat is off to you on that. So you've done martial arts, physical fitness, all right, books and academics. Okay, if you can be strong and you can be athletic, how do you make sure that they're smart? What did you do to make sure that they got their academics?
Well, we homeschooled most of them. And that's because I mean, nothing against the public school system at all. It's amazing. I was brought up on the public school system, but there were things in the public school system that I did not like. And instead of crying and complaining about it, I became the change that I did not like. Everyone doesn't have this opportunity. I thank God for my family. I didn't raise my children by myself. Family, friends like yourself, it literally took a village to raise my children. And I can honestly kudos to everyone that helped. But education wise, we did obviously math, language, same thing everyone else does. But being that you're homeschooled, you have a little more flexibility with what you can teach your children. So as my wife and I went through nursing school, we included nursing in their curriculum. As I went and got my insurance licenses, we included insurance in their education. I am a day trader, and I've been one for 7 years. And as I was taking all my classes and learning how to do it and getting certified, well, I made my children do the exact same thing that I did the entire time. And because of that, they have skills. They don't even realize it. They don't know what they can do or they don't know what they can't do until you tell them they can't do it. And so I just make them do everything that we do, and they didn't know they couldn't do it. Home-based businesses or regular business, they ran the businesses. They didn't know it was strange for a child to be able to run a business. You don't tell them they can't do it. You tell them they're going to do it. They don't know any better. If you say pick up the piece of paper off the floor, the toddler's going to pick it up and they're going to put it wherever you tell them to put it. And it's the exact same scenario.
Wow, Greg. I mean, that is so powerful. There are training courses, masterclass training courses, and they call it the paper test. And what they do is they hand someone a piece of paper and they tell them, write your name on the piece of paper. And then they look and they monitor how fast does a person comply. And compliance and ability to follow instructions is a big deal. And so some people will start asking questions and the interviewer will go, oh, they're out. Other people will just do what they're told to do. That is a skill. That is, I tell you, if there's probably top 10 life most important skills, do what the bad lady or the bad man asks you to do. Sign your name on that paper and keep it moving. So if they can learn that lesson and keep it from toddler to adulthood, I think that CEO, president, governor is in their future, because simply following instructions is so critical to success, I think, in life. All right, so they're able to give and follow instructions. They're able to lead. They're able to think on their feet. Is there anything else, any other skill that I'm missing that you taught your children and that other people might want to consider as they're raising warriors and doing warrior training? What other skill do you think that I'm missing?
We did a lot of strategy games. I made everything into a game. As long as it's a game, you're not learning. So we'd play chess, we play dice. We use dice to learn our math. I mean, that's how we did math, multiplication, division, we used dice. And we play with candy. We didn't gamble for real money, but we played with candy. And you just find a way to make it so that it's fun for them. If you can make it fun, you'll never get any pushback from a child, even from an adult. If you can make it fun, you'll never get any pushback. And that would be the biggest takeaway, I would say. Find a way to make it fun. If you can find a way to make it fun, you will get no complaints.
You know, Greg, last week we had Rear Admiral Chambers, and when I heard you say it echoed in the back halls of my mind. Have fun. And he's 96 years old. So if he's saying have fun, and then we fast forward to you, who's, less than half his age, then have fun. So anyone who's watching this show, your takeaway, whatever you decide to do in life, make it a game, have fun, be disciplined, be teachable, be coachable. Those are some of the lessons. We're going to go to a quick commercial and talk about Career Day. And Career Day is a way that our college kids learn lessons from working professionals. So stay tuned and listen at this commercial.
Calling all future STEM pioneers, leaders, and career champions. Join us on every second Saturday of the month for the BEA Career Day. BEA STEM Career Day is all about creating opportunities for students to venture into the world of STEM through the eyes of professionals. You'll meet mentors and presenters that will give you a sneak peek into the many options available to you in the field of STEM. Hosted by teen ambassadors, you'll find yourself among inspiring peers just like yourself that are aiming high for their future. To take part in the BEA STEM Career Day on Zoom, visit fullstemahead.us and register for the next session. Again, that's fullstemahead.us. BEA, becoming everything you are.
A world of careers unleashed. You can get it at BEA. Become everything you are.
All right, welcome back to the briefing room. On our show today, we have my good friend Greg, who has five children who are serving in defense of this nation. And so the theme of our show today is called Warrior Training. How do you create a warrior culture within your organization, within your company, and more importantly, within your family? And so, Greg, we've talked about your parents, and we talked about the values that they instilled in you, father in the Air Force, mother in the ministry. We talked about the work that you and your wife have done, instilling those similar values, having fun, strategy games, physical fitness, mental and moral toughness. But now all of that has now resulted in five of yours serving in this in defense of this nation.
Yes, sir.
And because I know the five, this is this quite frankly is kind of tough even for me to have this conversation with you, because this is probably the most serious conversation that a parent and those of us in the village who've raised these brave young Americans can have. And that is, at the end of the day, when you do warrior training, you will have warriors. The output of warrior training is warriors. And so I want to talk with you about, in big picture, about what's it like to have children who are warriors in a time of war. So this segment, this piece, I would call Warriors in a Time of War. So Greg, the floor is yours. What is it like as a parent to have a child at war?
I'm proud. First and foremost, I'm proud and honored to call myself their parent, their father. I did something right. That's rough. It's not all easy. I'd be lying if I said it was. It's not easy. But with the liberty and the life that we live, my children were willing to put their lives on the line to fight for their country, for everyone to continue to live the way that they live and protect their loved ones. Instead of complaining, they became the change or fought to keep life the way they want it to be, which is what we instilled in them as children. And so to see them doing it now, words don't describe how proud I am.
That's right. That's right. And I would tell you, as a family friend, I am so proud of them. I also don't have enough words. In this room here, my grandmother, she sent four of hers to Vietnam. And so she had two in Vietnam, one in the States and one in Japan. And I was a child in this very room. She would describe to me what it was like to have four boys at that time in what they call the service. And so that's why I wanted to have this show today from this room. So since you have five in the service, including one overseas, talk to us about, for the future parents, what goes through your mind when you hear that a war or a conflict might happen somewhere near your child?
Fear, concern. You start grasping at straws. You think of everything negative that could possibly happen. For a brief moment, you actually forget everything that you've been taught and everything that you've taught your children. They went over there prepared, but even more so for our household, we believe in God. And if you're going to grasp at straws, grasp at your faith, because that is what is getting us through. There's nothing I can do. I mean, when I first heard, of course, I wanted to drop everything and, hey, I'll go and take their place. One of me is equivalent to all of my children put together. I know it doesn't work that way, but me by myself, I can do what all of them put together can do. That's how I feel in my heart. But it doesn't work like that. And I know it doesn't. And I'm being real with myself. I know I'm not nearly as strong as my children now. My older sons are a lot stronger than me because they work out on a daily basis. They're running miles, carrying bags, and I do very little. So in my heart, I say one thing, but in reality, all I can hold on is to faith and trust that end of the day, we pray every day, several times a day, and I trust that God will make a way. God's will be done. And our prayer is simple. God, let your will be done in their lives. Let them know your voice when they hear it and give them the strength and courage to follow.
Wow.
That's all I can do. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Those are the words that my grandmother and grandparents shared with me that they had. I think those are powerful words for any family who has service members, spouses, children, nieces, nephews in harm's way, is to keep that prayer that you just shared, Greg, close to your hearts. No matter your faith, I think that prayer really matters. It changes things. I would tell you that what you said about wanting to switch places, that's also a very real fact. No, it's very real. People, they hear these things and they won't know it until you've been there. You can't even think it till you've been there. And it doesn't matter whether it's a child or a sibling, that desire to for a moment, like you say, to just immediately go to whatever would relieve the stress is very real. And so they talk about all the stress that the warriors face. The families of the warriors, those of you who are back home, are also going through it with them. And all of us who are friends and supporters of this country, we're all kind of going through it together. So thank you for that. Thank you for that guidance and that prayer.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we have, I want to ask all the members who are watching this briefing room to please keep this warrior father and his family in your prayers. I ask that you keep all of the families in prayer, in daily prayer, and no matter what your faith is, to pray for these warriors. And then stay involved, stay engaged in the conversation, watch shows like the briefing room, stay active in your community and make your voices heard. They say, Greg said earlier that the children don't know they can't do something unless you tell them. I think that lesson is also applied for adults. The warriors who are on the front lines defending this country deserve warriors here in the United States who are making sure that we are providing them every possible resource, every possible support, and doing all the right things for them that we need to do here in the U.S. while they're overseas or even here in the U.S. defending our nation. So, Greg, again, I want to thank you for coming on the briefing room. This show called Warrior Training, under the umbrella of the war with Iran, is so important, so important. So, again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So now we're going to go to our final commercial to talk about becoming everything you are. If you are watching this show and have never been to a Becoming Everything You Are conference, you need to attend. You need to become part of this ecosystem. Again, this is an ecosystem of 50,000 professional scientists, technologists, engineers, mathematicians, and warriors. And so whether you want to talk to another parent on how they handle it, or whether you want to talk to a engineering dean on how to get your child into engineering, becoming everything you are is the place you want to be. So my name again is Matt Bowman. We'll see you next week here in the briefing room.
What if you could build your own city? A place where every child can find nurturing people to help them achieve their full potential. A place where every adult can access job training support. Where health education is abundant. Where social justice ruled the land. A place without limitations. Welcome. You have arrived at STEM City, USA. It is what every city should be. A safe and trusted community where you find people and resources to help you become everything you are and beyond. STEM City is unlike anything you have ever experienced. It is a digital twin of the world around you, only better. STEM City is about energy and soul renewal. It is more than a digital world. You can almost feel the power of live cultural events, music, and theater. STEM City promises a better future for children, with caring mentors and hands-on activities, with dedicated tutors to support our youth. STEM City is your passport to a healthy lifestyle, with weekly events addressing our community's many issues. STEM City is your financial well-being, with helpful information on wealth management, career advancement, job training, and so much more. STEM City is the community you deserve. It is the city where your dreams can come true. STEM City USA, a place in the sky that is accessible to all who reach for the stars.